Hi everyone, welcome back. We're looking at the processes within the project management body of knowledge, and this one in particular is controlling the scope of your project. Now, where does controlling the scope of your project fit in the overall process group and knowledge area mapping? Well, as you can see, we've initiated our project, we've planned our project, we've executed on our project, so we've created some of those deliverables, but now maybe some things are starting to change as we're going along on our project. So maybe people are wanting to add to the scope, or maybe they're wanting to change that scope. Maybe it wasn't what they thought in the first place. So that's where we're starting to see things like scope creep. It's starting to expand, and with it goes the cost and the schedule of our project being impacted too. So basically, a key thing for our project is controlling that scope, keeping it under control so it doesn't impact all the other areas of our project as well. Controlling the scope is the process of monitoring the status of the project and product scope and managing any changes to the scope baseline. Remember, the scope baseline is our scope statement, our work breakdown structure, and our work breakdown structure dictionary, which has more information, the acceptance criteria, the item numbers and stuff like that. And so that scope baseline is locked in a certain place in time. So it's baselined, and to make a change, we need a change request. So that's part of this process also. The key benefit of this process is that the scope baseline is maintained throughout the project. It's not just added to on an ad hoc basis. All of these changes are controlled and maintained. An overview for controlling our scope. Controlling the project scope ensures that all requested changes and recommended corrective or preventative actions are processed through the Perform Integrated Change Control process, which is 4.6 in project integration management for our project management body of knowledge. The control scope is also used to manage actual changes when they do occur, and often they will occur. Nothing ever quite goes to plan, and that's why we need project managers to manage all of these different things that happen. The uncontrolled expansion to product or project scope without adjustments to time, cost, or resources is referred to as scope creep. Maybe it's creeping upwards, and of course that is going to affect the cost of our project and blow out the schedule of our project as well. So change will happen. You'll see it happen all the time. People change their mind. People see something and they decide it's not what they wanted. All of these will happen, and change will happen. Therefore, some type of change control process is mandatory for every project, so that we're making sure that those changes go through the proper process before they're approved. Inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs that you'll see for control scope are the project management plan, the project documents, work performance data from our project that we've gathered, and organizational process assets and templates. Tools and techniques that we'll use are data analysis, like variance or trend analysis for these changes that are coming through. And outputs that you'll see are the work performance information. So these are more percentages or ratios that are created from our work performance data, which is our raw data of the project, like simple measures. Change requests that might come through from anyone involved in the project. If you remember, anyone can raise a change request. And project management plan updates and project documents updates as well. The control scope process will also have an input into monitoring and controlling project work, performing integrated change control. As you can see, change requests are a big feature here. The project management plan and project documents themselves. Let's have a look at the inputs in more detail. We've got the project management plan. So the components of the project management plan can include our scope management plan. What's the process for managing and creating our scope? The requirements management plan, again, also known as the business analysis plan for a BA you might be working with as part of your project. What's the process for gathering those requirements and managing those requirements? The change management plan, what's the process for, again, all these ways of working that we're going to need, what's the process for making a change? Who does it have to go through? Who has to approve it? The configuration management plan, what documents are baselined and have to go through that change control process. The scope baseline, which we saw is the scope statement, work breakdown structure, and work breakdown structure dictionary. That's our scope baseline, locked in place in a certain place in time. And the performance measurement baseline. Project documents that you may use as an input are previous lessons, the requirements documentation, so what requirements did we have in the first place, and our requirements traceability matrix, which is very handy because we've got the requirements that we've gathered from our customer and how do they meet the deliverables that we're delivering as part of our work packages that are going to our teams to work on and deliver. And so that traces how they match those how they meet those requirements for our customer. And that will be an input because maybe we're needing to change those over time if people are requesting changes. We also might have work performance data, so the raw data for our project. This can include the number of change requests that we receive, the number of requests that we accept, and the number of deliverables that are ultimately verified, validated, and completed. So this can be a nice way to measure how we're actually going. Maybe if we're getting a lot of changes, then maybe we didn't do our due diligence at the beginning of our project to get the right requirements and define the scope in the right way. We'll also see organizational process assets, so existing formal or informal scope control policies, procedures and guidelines within the organization that you're working in, and monitoring and reporting methods and templates that might be used within your organization as well. And again, is it a document that you need to send to a steering committee or to your project sponsor? Does it involve having graphs and nice pictures, or is it just a simple summary on a page? What is the existing or accepted way of work within the organization? Tools and techniques that you'll use are data analysis. So we're analyzing all of these changes to the scope that might come through. And we might need to look at variance analysis. So what had we planned originally versus what is the change, or what are our customers actually wanting to be able to sign off on that deliverable? And of course, trend analysis. Like we saw before, if we're getting lots and lots of change requests, or maybe we're getting them from a certain customer or a certain stakeholder, or maybe it's only coming from this particular part of the project. So these are the trends that we do need to analyze so that we can keep them on track and manage them if we need to. Now, of course, we'll see work performance information as an output of this process too. This includes correlated and contextualized information on how the project and product scope are performing compared to the scope baseline. What did we agree initially versus what is happening? Are there lots of changes coming through, as we've seen? It can include the categories of the changes received, identified scope variances and their causes, how they impact the schedule or cost, and the forecast of the future scope performance. So is it going to throw our project off track? Is it going to add a lot of dollars? Is it going to save some dollars? That would be nice, but it rarely happens. You'll probably see it increase the cost more than decrease it usually. And again, that sort of thing has to be managed. Maybe we've got different ideas there, and that's where we need to make decisions and move forward from there. Ultimately, you'll see change requests as well come through. These will be the outputs of any changes that are requested. Analysis of the project performance may result in a change request to the scope and schedule baselines or other components of the project management plan. Change requests are often processed for review and disposition through the Perform Integrated Change Control process, 4.6 in our project management body of knowledge as well. We might update our project management plan, so the scope management plan or requirements management plan, the change management plan, configuration management plan for our baseline documents. The scope baseline might need to be updated, or the performance measurement baseline might need to be updated as well. And project documents might need to be updated, such as our requirements documentation and our requirements traceability matrix. And that is all the detail required for your controlling scope process in the project management body of knowledge.